A new Donkey Kong game is coming out soon. I heard somewhere online that Crash Bandicoot was inspired by Donkey Kong. That's it, that's the intro. Crash Bandicoot was a series that was popular in the 90s, and then it wasn't popular, and then it came back and was really successful in the late 2010s, and then once again the series went dormant for no real particular reason, other than some executive probably said that the games only made them millions of dollars instead of billions. I had never really played a Crash Bandicoot game before the N-sane Trilogy came out, and then after that I found myself slowly starting to really appreciate the series. And that's also not to mention that the N-sane Trilogy alongside Mario Odyssey and A Hat in Time are the games that really started to bring 3D platformers back into the limelight after they had become a dying breed during that era of games, basically paving the way for us to get stuff like Astro Bot and Donkey Kong Bonanza in the modern day. And after how successful and impactful the revival of Crash and that other purple thing was, it's just sort of shocking to me that we're halfway through the 2020s and yet we still haven't seen anything since Crash 4. Crash Team Rumble, what's that? So in this video, I'm going to look back at the games released during that period of time where Crash was making his big comeback and say if I like them or not. So like I just said, 2 seconds ago, the N-sane Trilogy was the game that really started this all off. The game is a remake of the first 3 Crash games on PS1, and while there are definitely some changes and slight differences here and there, I would still say that this is the definitive way to play these games. From my little bit of experience with the original games, I can definitely say that they did a very good job of replicating the movement from those games, except I would say that the better visuals and other modern upgrades would definitely make this version win out for most. Sometimes when I'm in the right mood, I do prefer those original PS1 visuals since I find 3D platformers on that console to be very charming. But for the most part, I prefer the remakes, most likely since those are the versions that I have more experience with. The main benefit of the N-sane Trilogy is that in Crash 1 and 2, they went back and added time trial relics, giving you more to do in those games if you want, as well as them adding a scrapped level from Crash 1 back into that game, and also putting a completely new level into Crash 3. So now that we've got those remake differences out of the way, we can talk about what I think about the games themselves. I don't like Crash 1. Look, obviously this game was very important back when it first came out, as it was a pioneer of its genre alongside Mario 64. Mario 64 held up much better though. The game controls fine, and there's no game-breaking bugs or anything, but I just don't like the level design. The game is difficult, but that's not necessarily the problem, because I usually don't mind a little difficulty in these types of games since I've played so many of them, and a challenge can be nice sometimes. My problem is that this game feels difficult for all the wrong reasons. I will give it some leeway since it was one of the first 3D platformers ever made, and I do think that playing the remake of it sort of makes me forget that sometimes, but even with that in mind, that doesn't make me enjoy it anymore. This game requires a lot of patience to make the exact right jumps at the exact right times, and it's not like it's necessarily easy to do, so then you'll die and you'll have to redo that section all over again, which will take a while since you have to wait to do the exact right jumps at the exact right times. Most of the time when I play the N-sane Trilogy, I just kind of skip over this one since I've just never really enjoyed it that much. But then you give me Crash 2? Oh, I like that game. The first notable thing about it is that you can now do more than just jump and spin. You can do a little crouch, which that's cool, I guess, but then you do it while moving and you get a little slide, and then if you jump right after doing that, you get a better jump that allows you to reach farther away platforms. You can also do a belly flop ground pound thing too. That's cool as well. These seem like super basic additions, but they really do make the platforming that much better. The level design has also seen a vast improvement, with the levels actually being fun now. The main goal is also no longer to just get from the beginning of the level to the end. While they are still very linear, your main goal is to find these crystals which are placed throughout these levels. You can also get gems by collecting all of the boxes or finding secret ones hidden in the game. I think taking the game in a more collectathon direction was definitely the right move because there's just something nice about a little guy jumping around and collecting shiny things. There's also levels where you ride a polar bear and use a jetpack, and these levels are fine, not really my favorite though. Then Crash 3 comes along, which is kind of just more of Crash 2 but better. Crash 3 does have a lot more different types of levels, with a lot of ones that have you driving different vehicles and stuff. I'll admit, most of these aren't really my thing, except for the motorcycle levels. I'm fine with those. But none of them are bad enough to ruin the game for me, and I definitely still prefer this game over the other two. My favorite thing about it though is that after defeating each boss, you get a new addition to your moveset, starting with simple things like double jumps, and then by the end you just get a gun that you can use whenever and wherever you want. Overall, this game was just a really cool collection of some really good remakes, and I can definitely see why it got as popular as it did. Since the N-sane trilogy was such a success, it sort of just made sense to go ahead and remake the other three PS1 platforming games that are very closely associated with the Crash series, the Spyro the Dragon games. I know this video is mostly about the Crash series, but I feel Spyro is so closely related to Crash, and these remakes happened basically because Crash was popular again, so we're just going to include it. Alright guys, so I got a confession to make. I don't really care for the Spyro Reignited trilogy all that much. It's not that I think these are bad remakes of the originals or that the originals are bad games, they're just not really my thing. The remakes look great and play great, but I just sort of found myself kind of getting bored here. Spyro 1 is just sort of the most basic 3D platformer I can think of. It has some fun and creative ideas here and there, but for the most part it's just run around, collect dragons, and then do that again. The fire breathing and gliding are interesting ideas, but I feel like they're never really used in any super interesting ways. More open 3D platformers like this, where you just wander around a level and look for collectibles, are 100% carried by the movement of the character you're playing as. In a more linear platformer like Crash, you can get away with not having the greatest move system known to man, since it's easier for the level design to make it fun. But in Spyro levels, there's not really a ton of tricky platforming to keep you engaged, and also his movement just sort of consists of walking around and occasionally gliding, which also isn't the most fun thing in the world to me. The speedways are easily the part of the game I find the most interesting and fun, and I would always rather do one of these than one of the main levels. I know I'm ragging on it a lot, but I really don't dislike this game, I just find it kind of boring. But then Spyro 2 comes along and refines a lot of the ideas from the first game, making this probably the best one. The gameplay is better, the levels are better, and the game just has a lot more personality to it, making this the main Spyro game I would ever really want to play. Then there's Spyro 3. I really don't like Spyro 3. Instead of trying to improve the main gameplay of the game, they instead just decided to keep adding and adding new gameplay styles and characters, and they're not really fun. I also just found the level design of this game to be weaker than Spyro 2. While I only ended up really liking one of these games, the remakes themselves are quality and great ways to play the Spyro games if you're interested, and I genuinely would recommend Spyro 2. The next big Crash release to come out after the two remake trilogies would be another remake with Crash Team Racing Nitro fueled. This is a game that aims to remake the original Crash Team Racing, which was already an incredible kart racer, and add more customization options, new gameplay mechanics, as well as adding a ton of new content, both original and lifted from the sequel to Crash Team Racing that sucked. I actually really appreciate the fact that Nitro Kart's tracks got ported here, because I really do feel like that game did get a lot right in terms of track design and stuff. The problem was just that it sucked. They completely remade the original campaign mode from Crash Team Racing, which I really appreciate since I've always thought that was one of the best single-player content in a kart racer ever. I do kind of wish they either remade the Nitro Kart campaign or slapped on a bonus world with the Nitro Kart tracks or something, since it would be kind of nice to have those included here, but that's also very nitpicky since at the end of the day, it's still the same amount of content that's here now, except some levels just have a fun hub world you can drive on. But where this game really shines is just how good it feels to drive and go fast. Instead of the normal Mario Kart drifting where the longer you drift, the more your boost builds up, here we have this little meter that starts filling up really fast the moment you start to drift. If you then press a button at the right time, you then get a boost, and you can do that 3 times in a row. That, in combination with the boost you get from getting airtime, allows you to reach some crazy speeds, and if you can get into a flow state in this game where you are just drifting and jumping around everywhere, it can be one of the greatest feelings ever. Since this is a Mario Kart clone, we obviously have items and stuff, but there's not a ton to say about them since they're just some pretty basic stand-ins for pre-existing Mario Kart items. The challenge modes we have here, like the CTR tokens and relic races, are another thing that I absolutely love and really add to the great single-player content. Relic races are especially cool to me since it just takes the concept of relics from Crash 3 and then puts them in a kart racer where I actually think it works way better and feels more natural. This is genuinely an amazing kart racer that I recommend to anyone who's a fan of these types of games to play, as I have very few problems with it. Oh wait, I forgot. I don't take back that this game is great, but also come on, this really sucks. Having a stupid Fortnite item shop where you can pay real money for characters like Ugly Egg really rubs me the wrong way. It's even crazier since when the game launched, they literally said that there would be no microtransactions, and then immediately added them after everyone had praised them online for not doing so. And doing this to it just adds a completely unneeded greedy stain on its legacy. I've heard talks of this game making some sort of comeback with new next-gen versions or whatever, and if that's true, which I hope it is, they better get rid of this stuff. After remaking the first three Crash and Spyro games and Crash Team Racing, the question of what's next definitely started to arise. Were they finally going to move on to some original stuff, or since there are tons more Crash and Spyro games to remake, were they just going to coast off of that for a while? Ultimately, they decided to finally move on from remakes and start making original games for these franchises, starting with Crash Bandicoot 4. Now, keen-eyed Crash fans know that this is not the first Crash 4, as there were actually a Crash 4 and 5 that came out after the original trilogy, but honestly, with how lesser known those games are and how fresh the original trilogy of games were in people's heads after the N-sane trilogy, it does just sort of make more sense to continue on from there instead of trying to continue on from games most people haven't played. Instead of this game being developed by the people that made the N-sane trilogy, it was actually developed by Toys for Bob, who worked on the Spyro remakes, and you can definitely tell since they brought that art style from those games over to Crash 4. I like the way N-sane Trilogy and Crash Team Racing look, but I won't lie, I think this art style is far better and more visually interesting. Crash is a character that is supposed to look and act like he's from Looney Tunes, so giving his games a more cartoonish art style fits way more than the realistic look they went for in the other games. Even though this is basically just the art style from the Spyro remakes, I gotta say, I think it looks way better here. They were able to cram so much detail into every single level, making each and every one of them an absolute treat just to look at while you play. But obviously, to make a good Crash game, there's a lot more you have to get right besides how it looks. The gameplay is absolutely the most important thing. So how'd they do here? For the most part, Crash controls about how you expect he would from previous games with his spin jump and slide jump and all that. The main difference here is that the double jump is just part of his normal moveset now, which is something I appreciate, and with how insane the platforming gets in this game, it's pretty necessary. But by far, the best addition in this game is that when you're in the air, there's a little ring that shows you exactly where you're going to land. I cannot tell you how much of a lifesaver that thing is. Usually stuff like that would not be something I care about that much, but like I said just a second ago, the platforming in this game can get absolutely brutal and I love it. I know earlier in the video I said Crash 1 was bad because the platforming was too hard, but I also said that was because it was hard in a not fun way. Crash 4 is hard in a very fun way, with some of the greatest level design in the entire series. The game also introduces these special masks that give you special abilities during certain parts of a level, which give even more opportunities for crazy platforming challenges. Like, just look at this part from the last level of the game. What is happening right now? See, now all of this is seeming too good. Where's all the problems? Oh. Yeah, for as much as I love the main game here, going for 100% in this game is widely considered one of the most grueling tasks ever. 100%ing the original games isn't something that's really that hard to do, and you're pretty encouraged to do so. And then in this game, there's like 1 trillion collectibles in each level, and there's 2 versions of each level. This isn't a huge deal to me since all of this stuff is optional, and just going through the main levels is so fun on its own that I'm not going to not recommend this game because of that. But I do definitely think they should have toned it down a bit. I've completely forgotten to mention that there are other playable characters in the game. They're fun, not as good as the main gameplay though. After it seemed as if Crash and maybe Spyro was here to stay, they then released Crash Team Rumble, which expectedly no one really cared about, and then nothing happened. And then they made like weird AI advertisements for a fake game. What were they doing? I can only hope that in some way, shape, or form the series is going to come back again, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too high since it's all now owned by Microsoft, who has historically done a really good job of keeping platforming mascots relevant after acquiring them. But as for right now, I'm just going to keep being content not playing Crash Team Rumble.